Yeah, that was me. I mowed that field. All right, guys. The Cleveland Browns are gonna be mowing a lot of fields this offseason, if you know, or next offseason, if they're gonna be able to pay for Deshaun Watson. Okay, we're done with that. We'll get into him in a minute because a lot to talk about with the Browns quarterback position as we get into the roster, which isn't the greatest. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I don't know. This is probably better than what we did with the Jets, but like, this is still not great. Yeah, their roster here today. Very interesting quarterback room. Again, considering Shador isn't even on here. That's what's going on. We'll get into this, though. Again, if you haven't watched past roster grade videos, this is going to be a little bit confusing for you. If you're here to watch just the Browns, go watch the first 7 minutes of the Your Farm, which is the Tennessee Titans roster grade videos. It is available in the 2025 NFL roster grade playlist. And those first 7 minutes will explain all this to you. But again, the only thing that's missing is the fact that, again, the point system, which is how we determine our letter grade. 234 points, again, if you correspond that to the letter grade, is about a C, so average in that sense. Anyway, though, yeah, Browns quarterback room. Again, we kind of went through it in the offseason short, which is kind of bizarre, but that's something else to watch. Anyway, Deshaun Watson, Groper Cleveland, if you know. Again, I don't want to keep going through it because you've probably heard it a million times, but he's not a very good human. He's not a very good football player, and he's not very good at staying healthy either. So, yeah, don't expect him to be on the football field really ever again. I'd be shocked if he's not playing football ever again. That's what I'm going to say on him. Anyway, though, Joe Flacco is probably the projected starter, as I somewhat alluded to in that offseason short for them. But yeah, we look at Joe Flacco. If you didn't know, he's probably one of the, honestly, screw Aaron Rodgers, he's the most quarterback in the NFL. Last year with the Colts, he really wasn't great. Again, you look at him, he kind of cost him a playoff spot in a lot of ways when they lost. 45-33? There we go. Yeah, that game. That was the game. He kind of cost him a playoff spot on that one. Not really, though, because, again, he still throws for a lot of yardage. I don't know. Joe Flacco, again, look at 2023. He led the Jets to Browns to their only second playoff appearance in the past 18 years or 25 years, something like that. But he still throws a lot of picks, and, yeah, that's what's bad. But he still has a strong arm, and he can stand in the pocket and read out the defense, which is good, but he's going to be over-aggressive, and he can't move. So, yeah, he'll still be an option, though. That's what I'll say about that. And, again, very, very similar roster. He led the playoffs a couple years ago, so we'll see what happens. Kenny Pickett is not good. He was literally worse than Tanner McKee. And you guys, most of you guys don't know who Tanner McKee is last year, because he actually got some playing time with the Eagles last year. 42 attempts isn't completely nothing. Then obviously we know how he played with the Steelers in 2023. That offense really never was good. He tries to do more than he actually is. He's just literally pack passer, guys. That's what he is. He doesn't really think he is, though. He has some mobility, though. Like, that's what I'll say about Kenny Pickett. He can move a little bit, but like that really doesn't matter when you don't have a very good arm and you're just not very good. Yeah, his progressions and his ability to read out the field is spotty as well. Dylan Gabriel's a guy that I like a lot. I loved him out of college. I was talking about him. Really like him. And very good things for that. First things first, he's not very accurate. He can be accurate at times. Solid touch, not great touch. His deep ball is a little bit inconsistent. Doesn't have the greatest arm. Small. Like, he's a small quarterback. But guys, he reads out the field pretty well. And again, like I said, very consistent, very efficient overall. Like, again, physically not the greatest quarterback, but he's very mobile and he's going to take care of the football as well. His decision-making is better than any quarterback on this roster will ever have. Like, any of these quarterbacks, he's, like, so much better than with that. That's not really saying much either. So, yeah. Shador isn't on this team, but again, I'd expect him to start at some point this season because he is the best quarterback in this room outside of, well, he's not the most ready, but he's the best. Again, we all know about the slide and stuff. You can watch the draft recap, again, if you want to hear about that. But, yeah, probably he's definitely better than Dylan Gabriel. I'm grading him out. I'm not going to lie to you guys. He's better than Dylan Gabriel. But the question is he actually going to outperform him, though? That's my question. Yeah, as a prospect, probably better than Dylan Gabriel. Again, not the craziest arm, but good arm. Very good pocket presence in a lot of ways. He doesn't take care of the football. He knows what he's doing like that. And again, like I said, he's better than Dylan Gabriel. We know that. But is he going to outperform him in preseason? Is he going to be more effective in this offense? We'll have to just wait and see on that. Again, you never really know. But Joe Flacco, again, should be the projected starter. Any way you cut it, though, this is not a good quarterback situation. I'm going to put it at a D. That might be like, throwing shade at freaking Justin Fields. You know, we're going to put it at a D-, guys. Like, I'm sorry, but Joe Flacco, I get he brought you to the playoffs 2 years ago. He ain't bringing you anywhere. We're going to put a good 5 points in that. You might be like, what the hell? How is that even fair? Guys, truly do you think that Shedeur Sanders will give you good quarterback play as a rookie? Truly do you think that? Like, if he started day one? No, it's not going to happen. And yes, I get Joe Flacco will be a decent option last year, but even then, like, he's not the future. There's a lot of options. Are there any of them good? No. It's got to be a D-. This is just not a very good quarterback situation, like, at all. But it'll be intriguing. Prove me wrong, all 5 of you. Probably more people than the Marlins have for fans. That's all I got there, though. Let's get into the skill positions. And we look at the Browns' skill position group here. Again, it's not really good at all, to be honest with you. But we will start out with running back with Jerome Ford, who will not be the starting running back by halfway through the season. I'll say that right now. Last year, though, he was actually really effective. I'll say that. Not really getting that many opportunities. Again, considering Nick Chubb came in. But I still think he's a guy, despite being more of a big play back to get his efficiency than anything. He's a guy who can bounce off tackles and give you a decent workload and be a solid guy. As a receiving back, he's also pretty effective as well. I don't think he's an actual starting caliber back by any means, like overall. But again, he'll give you decent reps if again you don't give him a huge workload. But I said he can handle it for sure because again we saw it the past 2 years. Quinshawn Judkins is definitely the guy you'll project to be the starter though at some point because he can handle that workload. He breaks tackles pretty well. He's not a big play runner by any means. I understand that. And his vision is probably second to none in this entire draft outside of maybe Ashton Genty. And even then, he's a decent receiving back at times. Not really, though. And yeah, he's just a guy you'll get a lot out of. And again, he can definitely handle that workload for sure. Definitely over a guy like Jerome Ford. Dylan Sampson's just not a guy you're going to be too impressive watching on the field because, again, he really didn't show that Tennessee despite having so many touchdowns. He should be a guy that might get a couple goal line carries, though, because of how effective he was there last year for Tennessee. Pierre Strong, he had like a long touchdown for the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago. Yeah, it was 2022, right? Yeah. He's never really been a guy that's carved out a role in the NFL yet, though. So this running back room is kind of a lot of questions. I'll give him a C, though, because I actually think I like this room a lot more than a lot of other people do, and some people actually like it a lot more than me, so I don't know. But yeah, not the greatest room, but again, either way, you're going to get solid play, and there's at least some depth there, so I think a C is pretty fair to say. That might be a little bit high, but I still think that's a pretty fair assessment there. With that said, though, we get in this receiving room that is just an absolute mess. Jerry Jeudy, if not for the season he had last year, this receiving room would be cooked. Again, if you don't remember all that drama with Steve Smith, again, in first part of 2023 season, again, that Thursday night game where he called him a Jag. He was a Jag, just another guy in 2023, if not worse than that. Last year, though, yeah, despite only having 4 touchdowns, which is a little bit of an improvement area, but again, considering who he had working at quarterback outside of Jameis Winston, it's not too surprising that he was able to do that. But his separation metrics there, like yards of separation per route, all that crap, was pretty high on the chart there last year. And also, just watching him on film, he was just a lot better than we've seen him in a while. So I don't know if he'll ever be like that effective in terms of the future with that, but he was a true number 1 receiver last year. Is he actually that good? Probably not, but for a guy who was like sought after as the number 1 receiver in that 2019 draft class, finally showed something of it last year. Cedric Tillman, I'm not going to call him trash, but guys, this guy's kind of just a straight up scrub. You just can't play. I don't know what else to say, guys. Like, I don't want to say that's the truth, but it kind of is, because like he got a decent 50 targets last year. Like, especially, again, I get the quarterback situation and all that, but like, bro just does not get open. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys on that. And like, you don't really ever expect to be a big play guy either. Like, that's kind of the truth there. Deontay Johnson does have the pedigree. You'd hope to like be better than what he was last year. I get he was with the first 7 games with the Panthers. He was probably on track for maybe 1,000 yard year. That might be a little bit out in this. Let's see, 357. Let's do some quick math here. What is that? 357. Jesus, divide by 7. There we go. Times, what is that? 17. So that's like a solid season, like similar to what we saw in the previous 2 seasons. Like, I'm not gonna actually act like he was really a good player in 2022 and 2023, considering he had 0 touchdowns in 22. He's only looked like an actual a legit player for 2021. That's just because he chewed up yak yardage and was a dump off guy. He's never really proven to be a legit receiver in the league, guys. And like obviously with the drama with the Ravens and Texans last year, I'm not really too confident that he'll actually be that guy. We'll see though, because he's been really good. Not really good. He's shown some stuff in the past, so that's there. But can't really take him seriously at this point. David Bell, not very good. Jamari Thrash, another scrub. Michael Woods, another scrub. Like, guys, they have, like, one guy that, like, you've actually seen play at an elite level, or really good level, and they got DeAndre Johnson. So this receiving room is just not very good. I'm going to say it's a C-. That might be probably being nice, to be honest with you guys. But I think that is fair to say, considering Jerry Jeudy has earned that right to, like, support that. And also, like, DeAndre Johnson has been good in the past. All right, tight end. David Njoku, probably a top 5 tight end in the league last year. The numbers weren't crazy good, kind of fell off a lot, and he got injured, so I don't really know what to tell you on that. But he's one of the most athletic players in the NFL. Super fast for a tight end. Really solid hands. And again, he's actually been a better blocker than you might have thought. That is important, though, because Blake Whiteheart is really the only guy that I consistently could say, again, if you didn't have David Njoku out there, I'm like, that guy can block. He's 6'4", 250. He's a freaking freight train. Not a receiver at all. Literally just out there to block. But having like Harold Fannin out there, if they want to run 2 tight end sets, what I fully expect them to do, because Harold Fannin is a pretty capable receiver, outside the fact that, again, he still has some stuff to work on. Considering, yeah, a little bit concerning with him. But, again, he will definitely be a guy you can put on the plus receiving tight end there. So, again, if David Njoku can just be a consistent blocker, that'll help out a lot. You might even want to put Troy Harrison out there at times. But, yes, Harold Fannin is a really intriguing guy, even though he's got very big question marks with him. So, I'm going to say they get an A- at tight end just because David Njoku hasn't always been healthy. And Harold Fannin, again, risky putting on the field consistently. That's what I'll say there. So, that's going to be 6, 12, 18, and 20 points at tight end, and that's all I have on that time for the offensive line. Guys, have you ever heard of the saying, what you know you have? It's a rhetorical question. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. That's kind of what this Browns offensive line has been like ever since 2020, where they had like a massive like resurgence. Not even resurgence, just like a huge breakout season like as a whole. They haven't really done much at all to improve it since then. And again, it's been a really just slow and crippling decline for all these guys. I wouldn't call any of them as bad by any means at this point in their career, but they're far, well, at least for most of them, it's a far cry from where they were in 2020. Wyatt Tiller, I still think is a decent blocker overall, but at times in 2020, he was like one of the best. Like there were performances like that's like he's playing like the best, one of the best guards in football at like a damn near elite level. Still, I think a guy decent player, but like nowhere near where he was then. Like he's old now. What is he? 32, something like that. He's old. Like yeah, 30. He's not the same player. Jack Conklin cannot stay healthy. Last year, I think he played like 11 games, so again, somewhat healthy. That's probably a healthy season for him. He will give you quality play because he's just that good, but cannot stay healthy. Even then, he's never really been an elite player as well. So I'm like, he's always been really good, never elite. Ethan Pokic is probably the best offensive lineman, like for sure fire bet on this group because Ethan Pokic, yeah, last year wasn't his best season. He was really good in 2023. He's gonna be a really solid center. Does not make mistakes in terms of it, again, like in terms of like huge mistakes and like completely whiffing and overestimating and stuff like that. But not the most overpowering player either. Joel Bitonio was not even close to the same player we saw of like 20. I wouldn't even, because like he's old, like that's the simple truth about it. But 2021, 2022, probably the most not dominant, most consistent guard in football. 2023, a little bit worse. Last year, definitely a decline for sure. But he's, again, like I said, still a very, very good player. DeJuan Jones was absolutely awful, though. Like, we talked about this offensive line. Like, yeah, these guys are old and not really as good as they used to be. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit of an issue. But DeJuan Jones, left tackle, is a massive one. He was probably one of the worst offensive linemen in football last year, guys. It's a mess. They didn't really do anything there. I don't really know what to tell you guys there. Cornelius Lucas has proven to be a decent player in the past, but he's definitely a backup now. Zach Sinter really had a rough rookie year when he got out there. Luke Weipler's not a guy that I like really at all, but he definitely has some stuff. And you got Tevin Jenkins, who really struggled when he played. But overall last year, a little bit better than we saw in his first couple years in the league with the Bears. So that's what I'll say there. So the depth, there's definitely some proven guys there. The O-line, though, is probably going to still sit at a B-, because, like, I don't know what to tell you guys. These guys are regressing, and you got a horrible left tackle. So, like, as good as solid these guys mostly are, it could fall out for sure. So I think this is like they're really leaning on that B-. But like for the positions, again, even though the guys are unk and they're just not as good as they used to be, they're still going to give you solid play unless the bottom falls out, and then you got DeJuan Jones. It's just a mess. So it's kind of what you get there. So 6, 12, 14 points. It's still not like the worst situation to be in. But then when you add this up, it's going to kind of be a dud here. I'm telling you that right now. 12, 20, 14, 66 points. That's a rough grade for this offense. And that's going to put them in the D- tier. I think a nice straight up D tier for this offense is where they sit. D- might be where it is. Guys, this offense is going to struggle this year. I mean, that's kind of how it's going to work. The quarterback situation is probably the second worst in football, if I had to say, despite how many options they do, in fact, have. Outside of David Njoku, there's really no great option. Yeah, I get Jerry Jeudy's proven himself from last year. We'll see how it actually works out, though. And this offensive line, like I said, is very, 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 we'll see. It's like they're on the side of a cliff right now. So that's what I'll say there. This offense is not the greatest. It's all got there, though. And, yeah, hopefully this defense provides something of, positivity. Okay, looking at this defense, we'll start out with the D-line, which can be, I think, is like the 5th, 6th straight, something 6, 7 maybe. Offensive line, that's a 4-3. But, The interior of this group is very intriguing. It's probably one of the more higher ceilings guys because Malik Collins never has really been a plus run defender whatsoever in his career, but he's always going to provide you really solid pressure rate and win rates. I don't like win rates, but he really does well on that, so I got to at least highlight that. Freaking chips in people's helmets, tracking how many times he win. It's just a complete mess. On film, though, yes. Very well put together pass rusher on the interior. Very quality player, despite being 30. He will put up good production on the interior as pass rusher. Yes, not a great run defender. That is why you have Mason Graham, who is, I don't know, Kenneth Grant, you could argue is a better run defender than him. But the reason he was the 5th pick, he's been quite very, very, very good. I wouldn't say pressure rates. I don't even know if he'll actually put up. They might be a little bit down this year, to be honest with you. But he will. Very good penetration. He's got a really solid bull rush. He's got two, very well-refined, what is called moves off of that might work out well. But he's not really a true speed rusher, so we'll see how he works on the interior here. But him and Malik Collins should be putting up wreaking a lot of havoc there. The backups, Mike Hall Jr. had a pretty encouraging rookie season last year, despite only getting not really too many snaps. I like him a decent bit. I didn't like him coming out, but I will say last year, from what I saw in preseason and stuff, even though he got injured, he should be a guy that should get some snaps. Shelby Harris is old, but he'll still give you production. Whether it's good, it depends on the volume there. Joanne Briggs, Sam Kamara are guys that have played in the past. Wait, has Joanne Briggs even played? No, he hasn't really at all, so not him. Sam Kamara has, though. All right. Now we look at the edge rushers. Myles Garrett's probably still the best edge rusher in football. Again, on the one of the worst front sevens in football, overall last year. He still put up 14 sacks. Defensive Player of the Year in 2023 and all that. Again, he's had at least 14 sacks the past 3 seasons. That's just Hall of Fame production right there. Like I said, probably the best power bull rush in the entire NFL. Again, the only guy that could have rivaled that was Khalil Mack, probably back during 2018 even. Yeah, Myles Garrett is about as good as he gets right now. Outside of that, Isaiah McGuire, I still don't think he's really shown any sort of reason he'd be a number 2 actual pass rusher. But again, he's a decent run defender, so again, you get that out of him. But they don't really have a number 2 guy really at all outside of that. Because Joe Tryon, guys, again, the Bucs were very, very adamant to get rid of him because he really was never good with them at all. So yeah, I get he's kind of an average run defender, but he has just not been good enough at all for them. That was for the Bucs. Alex Wright, this is a guy that might. Don't count me on this, but he had a really good 2023, 4 games last year, injured. Bad injury. It was rough. He might be a guy you could see out there, and he could definitely emerge as a number 2 guy. I don't really know if that's really going to happen, but we'll see. And they got Zadarius Smith. Again, he's not on this team if you actually thought he still was. He's still not signed? Yeah, he was the Lions last year. What am I talking about? He wasn't great. Anyway, traded from the Browns and all that. All right, Cam Thomas is no. I'm going to say that. Julian Okwara. If you don't remember Romeo Okwara, he was the only plus Lions defender in 2020. His brother Julian Okwara is definitely a lot more athletic than him, but he hasn't really done it. 2021, I guess he did something, but that was really all he did in his career. Outside of that, this edge rusher group is kind of very lackluster. Outside of again the best edge rusher in football. Interior of the D line, I really like a lot, so that's definitely gonna boost it up probably to a B+. That might be really high praise, but kind of what you get with Myles Garrett. So I like the D line a lot. They're gonna be good. For sure. But pass rush wise, the interior is going to do a lot. I understand that, but I still think I got to stick it at a B-. No, it's going to be a B. Because the interior, this is probably one of the better duos in football. I get Mason Graham's a rookie, but probably one of the better interior D-lines in football for there. And Myles Garrett, you know what you're getting out of him too. So I think they're going to be above average. There's no way they're not. I got to say that. They're going to be really good. So they're not really good. They'll be really, they'll definitely be good. There we go. 32 points though for the pass rush. Linebacking core. This is very bizarre. Carson Schlesinger, I like them a good amount out of college. I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but definitely a good guy. Playmaking sort of guy. He doesn't really care. He's gonna do kind of be a free roamer out there. It's gonna work. They're gonna put him in the right position. Kevin Stefanski, he knows what he's doing with that. Jordan Hicks is about the most average middle of the road player you're gonna ever find in the league. He's been a backup at times in his career. Last year he started a decent bit, which is probably not what you actually want. But he's a consistent tackler. Coverage is pretty rough with him. But again, he's going to give you solid play. That's all you need to know there. Jerome Baker hasn't really done much in the past, really year or so. But at times with the Dolphins, he looked like a pretty solid player. Really just it's the inconsistencies with him and the fact that he really hasn't been a huge playmaker in a little bit. But he's damn near one of the best blitzers in the league when he is on. Mohamed Diaby, I think he might be a guy that they could utilize as more of a hybrid, not as a safety-esque, but more of a zone sort of guy that could really move around, because he just doesn't really give me much in terms of actual dependability. But he'll be a solid player again if they use him right. But really wasn't great last year. Devin Bush hasn't done complete bust. Nathaniel Watson was intriguing coming out, but he hasn't done much at all yet. And Winston Reed is actually a decent depth option as well, especially being a solid special teamer. JOK, did not mention him yet for a good reason. Is he going to play? Yeah, I have no idea, guys. Like, he should play, but, like, this guy, like, he, like freaking got decapitated last year. Probably a top 5 linebacker in football that is healthy, considering all the things he can do. And, in fact, he's, better than, I hope he just doesn't turn to Shaq Leonard. Because he was probably better than Shaq Leonard ever was when he played, too. I think I'd say that pretty, convincingly. Yeah, he's probably the best player in this defense outside of Myles Garrett. He's just that good. Anyway, though, this linebacking core, when they're anyway you cut it, it's still a pretty solid group. I think a B is fair because, again, like, who the hell knows with JOK, and like the rest of the group is still pretty solid. I'm gonna say a B. I like this group a lot. So overall, it's a really solid front seven. Anyway, slice it. 24 points. Time for the secondary. And then when we get into this secondary, we'll start at the cornerbacks. It's still the same big three they've had the past 3 years. But it's definitely they definitely didn't perform as well as you might have thought. Denzel Ward still is probably a top end corner. I just don't think he really put up the same. He didn't look as fast. Is probably the best way to put it, or as like exuberant as we saw in 2023. Again, who can blame him? He's in like the worst team in football last year. But yeah, he's still definitely a high-end guy. He got targeted a crap ton for good reason, though, because in zone coverage, like I said, he wasn't as attentive. So, again, if he can be more engaged next year and maybe more on his game, that'll definitely help them be a pretty good group. Outside of that, though, you got Armand Emerson Jr., who's probably one of the more better man guys in the league, despite having pretty stiff hips and not being the fastest guy. Very intelligent. He just locks guys up most of the time. And, again, I didn't really see much of a difference in play from him last year and this year. Maybe, again, they just didn't really target him much last year. He's still really, like, one of the better corners in football. Greg Newsome. Very valuable slot. Worst year of his career last year. Pretty simple like that. He did not play well at all. That's what I got to say. 2023, probably the best slot in football in 2023 if I had to like give an overall consensus on that. 2022, a solid rookie year, showed some flashes, but last year, worst year of his career. He's got some work to do. Outside that, the only guy that could really tell you might be a solid backup would be Cam Mitchell, but even then, like, he just doesn't give you consistent and really dependable playing time. Chiozie, is this still Chiozie Awuzie? I think no, it's not. It's some other rando. I do not know who this dude is. I've never heard of this dude. So they got a rando there. He might. I'll look up and see if he has film, but I don't know who he is. Anthony Kendall, Nick Needham have always been mediocre or middle or remedial players is probably the best way to put it. And then you got Tony Brown, who yeah, never been the greatest player on the planet to say the least. But yeah, they got a big three still. I'm gonna still give them an A, but like. That might still not be very. The depth is about as bad as it gets. But again, like they got the big. No, we'll stick it at an A-. I think it's pretty similar to what the Jets have, cause like, but like I don't know. Like is Michael Carter as good as Martin Emerson? That's the question. I'd say no. I'm gonna still stick him an A. That might be a little bit arrogant, but like I don't care, cause they're still like the big three and stuff. So there's again. I get Greg Newsome underperformed, but he'll definitely be better this year with what they're going to do. So that's what I'll say there. Safety, Grant Delpa, one of the most versatile and dynamic players in football. Last year wasn't that dynamic, though. That's what I'll say there. Run support, very good. Again, like, schematically, again, you have a lot of freedom with him, which is awesome. But in coverage, wasn't as locked in last year. Not like Denzel Ward, where he wasn't focused. It's just I don't think he was on his A game most of the time. Ronnie Hickman really proved himself as a guy you can depend on at times as a boundary guy, but there were times where I'm like, yeah, he's just not going to keep up with that guy. That's what it's like. As much freedom as you have with Grant Delpit, it kind of gets reined in a little bit with Ronnie Hickman. DeMonte Casey, Rayshawn Jenkins, both veterans. Neither of them have put together good seasons since probably 2021. And I'm being generous with Rayshawn Jenkins there because I get he had a lot of big plays in 2022, but not really worth it with what he was giving up there. Safety, though, I'm probably going to give a B- at because, again, like, a lot of good stuff with Grant Delpit, but he's still not like that top-end player. And then Ronnie Hickman, solid play from him last year, but still not too bought in on that. So that's going to be 21 points of safety. Then when we add that all up for this defense, it's going to be a pretty good group, guys. They're still pretty darn talented. Like, as many people like think, oh, they weren't great. They're great last year. They weren't, but they were still, like, the statistics still weren't awful. So that's what I'll say there. 117, we'll put them in the B- here. I'm going to actually give them a B. I like where this defense is at right now, despite, maybe not being even, I wouldn't say even this close, but maybe not having the depth or maybe not being as dominant as you might have wanted. Like, they're missing a couple things for sure from what we saw in 2023. All I got there, though, and yeah, here's some extracurriculars before, the overall roster grade. Again, you're dying for this, Browns fans, before we get to that. All right, Justin Hopkins had that injury in 2023, but before that, he was arguably the best kicker in football that year. Again, he wasn't very good last year at all, though. Andre I can't pronounce his last name, but yeah, he could do something. I don't know who he is, but we'll see. I watched a little bit of Syracuse last year. Cannot tell you I cared about him though. Corey Borquist, really solid punter. Deontay Carter is not a great returner. Rex, I cannot pronounce his name, but he's definitely a rookie. I guarantee you that. No, what the hell? Whatever. I don't know. This special teams unit is kind of lackluster. I'll give them a C. That's going to be 5 points there. All right, depth. Quarterback depth. I don't even know what you give this. Like, I'll give it a B because, like, there's so many of them. Running back depth, C. Maybe a little nice. C. We'll say that. So we're probably going to, what do we say, C plus so far this offense. Receiving depth, that's an absolute F. I don't really care about Deontay Johnson. So we're down to a D. Tight end depth, D plus, I think. Guys, Harold Fannin, I get he's a plus receiving tight end as a prospect, but like, I don't know about how this will work this year. He could definitely really struggle even, again, if he's not catching the ball, he's not doing anything else. So, yeah. We're going to say a D plus, which is going to probably put them at a D plus overall. What do I say? D plus, F, C, yeah, we're probably at a D plus. O-line depth, C minus. I'm going to still say, no, we'll be at a C minus. We'll be a little generous there. C minus for the offense. Defensively. D-line depth, C. Yeah, we'll say a C. Linebacker depth, I'd give an A. It's really good. So we're probably at a B there for the defense so far. Cornerback depth is an F. Safety depth, I'd probably give a B minus. So we're probably, if we said that, what are we at? A B? And then we say a B. I'd say we're probably at a C plus for this defense. C plus and, what do we come to on this defense? What would we say? A C minus? So I'm honestly going to say for a C plus. Because, yeah, there's some positions that have absolutely no depth on this team. Like, really just cornerback. But outside of that and really receiver, the rest of this team actually is pretty deep. So I think that does round that up to a 24-point output there. Identity, though. This Browns team offensively, I don't really know what to go with here. I'm just going to give them a C minus to the fact that I don't actually think they'll be absolutely awful. But, like, there's really nothing much to go with here. But they'll be in good spirits. Defensively, B minus because they'll have so much pressure on them. I don't know. I'm not too bought in on this Browns team identity, but I think Kevin Stefanski will at least hold the fort down. But we'll say 30 points for that. And after all that, no, we're going to put it as C. I don't really think this team's going anywhere, but I think they understand that too. So kind of an average sort of overall state of this team. But 25 points there for the identity. Now it's time for the overall grade. All right, doing the math here, we got 5, 24, 25, 117, and what do we have, 66? Oof. For that, that's going to give them 237 points, which, honestly, I'm not actually too surprised by because their defense is really solid. So 237 points for this roster is going to put them in the C tier. No, C plus tier. You know what? Screw it. We'll give it to them. The Browns roster isn't good, but, like, it's not bad either because, like, this defense still has a lot of talent on it, guys. And, like, that's what really the truth. Yeah, offensively, it's not a good situation, but this defense is talented enough where, and also the offense isn't completely devoid of talent to the point where I'm like, yeah, this roster is better than a lot of people will give it credit for, despite, the quarterback situation being what it is. So that's what I'll say there. But this team isn't going anywhere. Like, Browns fans, you already know this, but, like, yeah, I think this roster is actually okay. So we'll say that. But we all know you guys aren't going anywhere this year. We'll see what happens, though. That's all I got for the Browns. Pretty pleasantly surprised with that. But that's all I got for them. And, yeah, hit the next team.